We're still the laughing stock when it comes to crime. Although I'm crying about it. I'm not laughing because it's really sad to watch people beaten to their lives in the subway system.
Including our colleagues.
Very scary. I mean, so here are some inconvenient truths. Orlando has a very high crime rate too. It's 50% higher in violent crime than New York right now. Miami, very comparable with a Republican mayor. So these things are not that simple, but I get the strategy. The strategy is support police, come here, come to Florida, we'll support you. And that's a slam dunk politically. But once you get into the facts, there are problems on
Lauren,
both sides.
One thing I would say is to dig down deeper into the types of crime. Yeah, because carjackings and those things are always a slippery slope, and they are dealing with that.
Right?
Well, because it's a slippery slope. It's a one-on-one type of crime potentially. But what we're talking about is people being beaten as they're walking in the subway system. These are not crimes for any crime's sake. They're not taking anything. They're not in the process of taking a car. You have to take a look at what those crimes look like and what that means for the citizenry.
And you really have to do that, because otherwise I look like a fool for what I just said. Man, Harris Faulkner has never seen a rake that she hasn't rushed to step on. But I want to give credit there to apparently Princeton University lecturer Lauren Wright for not only providing inconvenient facts, but like being willing to acknowledge and say that they're inconvenient facts. Because if there's anything that is not appreciated by the Fox News audience, it is an even mildly inconvenient fact. That is not what Fox is about. Fox is about making you feel nice and warm, like somebody picked you up and wrapped you in a blanket and is just rocking you back and forth. That is the entire point of it. They're not interested in your inconvenient facts, even if they appear to be 100% accurate. It's fine to talk about the crime of New York. You might also want to point out that the crime is going down. That certainly seems important. Also kind of seems important to point out that it's not just areas with Democratic mayors that are experiencing crime. As she points out, some of the biggest cities in Florida are experiencing absolutely massive waves of crime. Sorry, that's inconvenient. JR, what do you think?
Yeah, it's easy to say stuff like this when you don't actually analyze why crime happens. Because then, of course, crime happens in cities like Orlando and Miami and Omaha. We'll even go to some of those red states. Of course, crime happens, but if you want to ignore the reasons why, which they do, the reasons why they do is because then you could address those problems that many times come from societal factors, education, housing, jobs, all those things that they want to continue to keep at the lowest level possible in order to keep benefiting the richest folks in the country. Because that's always the basis for this, is to protect the richest, because they're the ones who pay these folks to say these lies like this. But still, you can't go to the basis for these crimes or the reasons why these things happen, because then you'll have to think about it more. And thinking is just something they don't want anyone to do over at Fox News. But still, the inconvenient truths came. And I like the other line that she did say. She goes, it's a slam dunk politically, but in reality. So political slam dunks aren't based in reality.
Yeah.
Think about it.
According
Political
to what they
slam
said.
dunks are not based in reality. They say it because sure, you win on a political dunk, but if we think about reality, that doesn't make any sense. So many people's opinions about this stuff is based in political reality just for a slam dunk, which goes back to the original thing. Just look at the dunk on those damn libs. That's the entire point about this. But again, and then I think this was Harris Faulkner's reset. But we're talking about the type of crimes that happen in subways and things like that. So we can demonize the people we've always demonized. Maybe the unhoused, maybe minorities, maybe other folks who have to take things like public transit. Those are those dirty, filthy people. It happens in New York and Chicago and LA.
100%. No, I love that. I want to return to that, but really fast. Let's do the politics, then let's do the substance. So the politics is this apparently began, this feud between New York and Florida, because Mayor Eric Adams quote retweeted a thing about DeSantis going to New York. And he says, welcome to New York City, Meatball Ron, a place where we don't ban books, discriminate against our LGBTQ neighbors, use asylum seekers as props to let the government stand between a woman and healthcare. It's a great point. Then Christina Pushaw, who convinced 100 million Americans to call literally everyone they don't like groomers, responded attacking him. And that's why they were discussing it on Fox. So that's the politics. The reality is that Florida ranks generally 21st compared to every other state when it comes to crime. Their violent crime rate is 385 incidents per 100,000. That's almost exactly what it is nationally. But then once you zoom in places like Florida City, violent crime rate is over 3,000 incidents per 100,000, 8 times the national violent crime rate. But that's just overall crime. And Harris Faulkner has a little bit of a retreat strategy, but like specifically what? There's gotta be something that makes my political attacks make sense. Well, the 10 most common crimes charged in Florida are drug offenses, theft, assault, driving under the influence, aggravated assault, liquor law violations, burglary, fraud, robbery, and vandalism. I mean, that sounds like how they describe literally every square foot of New York on a daily basis. It sounds like exactly the sort of thing. But maybe I'm not being creative enough, JR. Maybe it's like what you said. It's like, wait, okay, so those crimes, but like on a subway or outside of a Gray's Papaya or in Central Park or under the tree in Rockefeller Square. Those are the ones I'm truly
yeah, the ones
about.
that you've already molded society to believe happens to those people that you just dislike more. Yeah, so you want to talk about those types of crimes because the first thought that comes, of course, like those damn immigrants, those damn minorities. It always goes back to that because they've already molded you to think that. So when you do see someone that they don't associate with that being convicted of those things, which a lot of times we know the judicial system likes to be a little bit lighter on those folks sometimes, then you ignore it. Well, that's just a one-off. That's not really the case. Unless they're unhoused, then it matches up. So in other words, it's going after the least powerful people in the country and again and again and again.
Yeah.
It's a formula.
It's a formula. I love, so Harris Faulkner again is supposed to be like their straight news person. She's not one of these, she's not Laura Ingraham. She's not one of these biased people. And
I don't know this, but Harris Faulkner used to think a little bit more. I think she's been, this is complete speculation. I think she's been at least counseled on, if you want to drive up ratings and be a top person at Fox, you gotta lie and go crazy sometimes and over exaggerate things. And you've noticed that shift has happened. She was not like this several years ago.
No, definitely not. She wants to be more popular. I mean, they had people like, remember Shep Smith? He'd be standing there just basically kind of saying what was happening with people, using 8-foot iPads behind him. It was super weird. They used to have people like that. They had kind of straight news people. Like there's still, straight news is still biased by what you choose to focus on, what you don't, who you choose to profile, who you don't, all of that. But no, even Harris Faulkner is just like straight up playing Tucker Carlson clips on her show and stuff like that.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.